Welcome to Visual Literacy, a series of YouTube videos based on the Visual Literacy Workbook for graphic design and fine art students by David Moyer and Brian Flynn, published by Oxford University Press. Chapter 8, Proportion. In this chapter, we will examine proportion as it relates to the configuration of the picture plane and the placement of elements within it. Proportion is the comparison between a part of a design and the whole, or between its individual parts. The numerical expression of this comparison, or proportion, is called a ratio. A basic understanding of proportional relationships can be gained by dividing a line segment into two parts and examining the relationship of the line segments one to another. A line segment divided into two equal parts yields a symmetrical division of the line segment, which expresses a very formal unity with a ratio of 1 to 1. An asymmetrical division of a line segment, where the parts are extremely different in length, creates an overabundance of visual tension due to great differences in the length of the line segments. The asymmetrical division of a line segment, known as the mean extreme ratio, divides the line parts so that the small segment is to the large segment as the large segment is to the whole line, which is expressed by the ratio of 1 to 1.618. This is an example of dynamic symmetry, defined by J. Hambridge as the just balance of variety in symmetry, providing the line with its divisions with the visible stability of sameness and the visual excitement of difference, is a particularly pleasing harmonic relationship. These examples are useful guides in shaping our thoughts about proportional relationships and their significance for design. When considering the proportion of a rectangular picture plane, we compare its height and width. Rectangles are categorized as squares, those with equal sides, and long rectangles, those with unequal sides. The short side of a long rectangle always has a ratio expression of 1. The expression of the long side is 1 plus the difference that is greater than the short side. For the sake of simplicity, we are eliminating the idea of reciprocals. To calculate the proportion of a long rectangle, measure the height and width of the rectangle and divide the measurement of the short side into the measurement of the long side, yielding the ratio expression of the long side. The ratio expression of the short side is always 1. An artist's first decision in the execution of a visual image is to determine the size and proportion of the picture plane. Picture planes taking the form of a square with a ratio of 1 to 1 are the image of unity and spatial neutrality, having neither a dominant vertical or horizontal orientation. Dynamic rectangles, such as the golden section rectangle, are readily subdivided into harmonic spaces. Picture planes with eccentric differences in their parts emphasize the spatial orientation of the picture plane, imposing themselves more rigorously on the placement of the design elements within the visual images. The Calling of the Apostles Peter and Andrew by Duccio Buononcena is nearly square in its format, with a proportional ratio of 1 to 1.06, providing the artist with a very unified picture plane on which to paint. The proportional divisions of space within the image, horizontally and vertically, are indicated by red and blue lines. The vertical red lines, 1 through 3, show horizontal divisions of space, with 1 being the major division 2, and 3 are subdivisions left and right of the first division. The vertical divisions of space are indicated by the horizontal blue lines, with line 4 indicating the major division, lines 5 and 6 indicating the spatial subdivisions. Line 1, the primary division of horizontal space, stands between the vertical figure of Christ standing on the vertical-oriented bit of shore and the horizontally oriented boat containing the apostles Peter and Andrew and the sea. The space, having a ratio of 1 to 2, dividing the picture plane horizontally 1/3 to 2/3. Line 2, congruent with the vertical axis of the figure of Christ, divides the left space at the mean extreme ratio. Line 3, positioned between the apostles, divides the right space into 2 equal portions symmetrically. Line 4, placed on the horizon line, divides the pictorial space vertically at the mean extreme ratio. Line 5, placed on the suggested line created through the alignment of the apostles' heads and Christ's hand and arm, divides the top vertical space at the mean extreme ratio. Line 6 is placed tangent to the bottom of the boat and top of the fissure within the apostles' net, dividing the lower vertical space at the mean extreme ratio. The image is comprised of a chorus of spatial proportions, contrasting and complementing one another. Our 6 spatial divisions represent only its basic proportional configurations. Please join us as we continue to explore visual form and content in upcoming videos.